Okay, so here I have my ball of yarn, and you're going to take your yarn and you're just going to kind of pull out a pretty long tail because we're going to use this to sew up our beanie when we're finished. So the first thing you're going to do is create a slip knot. So you're going to take your index finger and your pointer finger, wrap the yarn around, creating a loop, and then you're going to use your index finger and pointer finger and just pull that yarn through the loop you created to create a knot, and put that right over your hook. To tighten it, you're going to pull on the tail, not the working yarn, and the working yarn is the yarn attached to your yarn ball. From here, you're going to chain 36 to make a chain. You're just going to yarn over and pull that yarn through the loop on your hook. You're just going to repeat that until you have 36 chains. Okay, so I'm just continuing with my chain of 36. This kind of determines how tall your beanie is. So if you need it to be taller, I guess deeper, you would make more chains. If you need to be shorter, you would do less. Here is my chain of 36. So now we're going to find the third chain from the hook. So 1, 2, 3, that's the third chain. Into that third chain, we're going to do a half double crochet. To half double crochet, you're going to yarn over and insert your hook into the chain. You're going to yarn over one more time and pull the yarn through the chain. You should have 3 loops on your hook. Yarn over one more time and pull through all 3 of those loops. You just did half double crochet. So you're going to keep half double crocheting until you get to the last chain. You're going to keep placing 1 half double crochet into each chain. You can pause the video here and meet me back once you're at your last 2 chains. Alright, we are at our last 2 chains, and you're going to place 1 half double crochet into those last 2 chains. You're going to go ahead and take your hook out and pull up the loop a little bit so it doesn't unravel. And we're going to find the 7th chain from the top and place a stitch marker there. So here you can see our chain 2, and just a reminder, this chain 2 does not count as a stitch. So this is stitch number 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, and 7. So into the 7th stitch, we're going to place our stitch marker. To start row 2, we're going to chain 2. this chain 2 does not count as a stitch, so I recommend using a stitch marker and just placing it in that second chain. This way you can keep track of where your next row should end. Once you got your stitch marker in place, you're going to turn your work. To do that, you're just going to flip it over like this. And we're going to get started on row 2. For row 2, we are doing back loop only half double crochets. So you're going to skip that chain 2 and you're going to go into that first stitch. As you can see, the stitches are made up of this V sort of shape. The loop that's closest to you is the front loop, and the one behind it is the back loop. We're going to be doing our half double crochet into the back loop only, so you're going to do a normal half double crochet, but you're placing your hook into only the back loop. You're going to keep half double crocheting into each back loop only until you get to that marked stitch. Go ahead and pause the video here and meet me back once you are at the last stitch before our marked stitch. Alright, we are at our last stitch before the marked stitch, so you're going to do one more back loop only half double crochet. Into the marked stitch, we're going to place a back loop only single crochet. So go ahead and take that stitch marker off and throw that off to the side. Insert your hook into the back loop only, yarn over, pull up a loop, yarn over again, and pull through both loops on your hook. You're going to go ahead and replace that stitch marker back into the stitch you just made. That way you can keep track of the 7th stitch from the top. And you're just going to continue to do a back loop only single crochet until you get to the last 2 stitches of the row. Alright, we have now reached our last 2 stitches of the row. Into these last 2 stitches, we're going to do a slip stitch into both loops. So you're going to insert your hook through both loops, yarn over, pull that yarn through the stitch, and then pull that yarn through the loop on your hook. Once again, insert your hook into both loops of the stitch, yarn over, pull that yarn through the stitch, and then pull it through the loop on your hook. To start row 3, you're going to chain 1 and place a stitch marker into the chain so you can keep track of where to stop. Our chain 1 is not going to count as a stitch. Now we're going to go ahead and turn our work. You're going to skip that first chain from the hook. And you're going to place a slip stitch into the first 2 stitches of the row. You're going to go through both loops. Slip stitch, just insert your hook once again, yarn over, pull the yarn through the stitch, and then pull it through the loop on the hook. Once we've done our slip stitches, we're going to back loop only half double crochet into each stitch until we get to the end of our row. Remember, you're just half double crocheting into that back loop only. So we made it back to our marked stitch. Don't forget to take that stitch marker out, and you're going to put it back so that you can remember where you're going to start your back loop only single crochets our next row. So I'm just putting that stitch marker back into the stitch. And you're going to keep going with the back loop only half double crochets. Alright, you can pause the video here, complete your back loop only half double crochets, and meet me back once you're at your last stitch of the row. Okay, I'm at my last 4 stitches. Remember, the stitch marker indicates the chain 2, and that does not count as a stitch, so the last stitch of the row is the one right before your stitch marker. So you should have 3 rows that look like this so far. You're gonna just repeat rows 2 and 3. I'm doing 32 rows total. I'll do a couple rows with you. Some parts will be sped up. If you need to, you can adjust the speed in the settings on YouTube to slow it down. And we made our beanie. So once you've completed your final row, you can go ahead and put it around your head, or you can measure it with a measuring tape. You want to make sure that you kind of just stretch it a little bit to make sure that it fits snug, and then you can kind of see where you want to fold your beanie. You know, if you want to, you could stop here and you can have a completed beanie. But I'm gonna go ahead and add stars to mine. I just love stars, so yeah. To start our stars, you're gonna make a slip knot. From there, you're gonna go ahead and chain up 4. So here's 1, 2, 3, and 4. You're then gonna go ahead and slip stitch into the 4th chain from the hook. So that's gonna be that first chain that you created. And now you're gonna have made like a little circle. As you can see, this center part right here, this is where we're gonna be doing our double crochets. So you're gonna go ahead and chain up 3, and you're gonna double crochet into that center part of the little circle we made. So to double crochet, you yarn over, you insert your hook into the center of the chain 4, yarn over again, pull up a loop so you have 3 loops on your hook, yarn over again and pull that yarn through the first 2 loops on your hook, then yarn over one more time and pull the yarn through the last 2 loops on your hook. We're going to be doing 14 double crochets into that center of our chain 4. Our chain 3 that we made in the beginning is not going to count as a stitch. Alright, once you've finished your 14th double crochet, you should have something that looks like this. You can go ahead and pull on that non-working yarn to tighten up the center of the circle. Now, we're gonna slip stitch into the third chain of the chain 3 we made in the beginning. Once you've created your slip stitch, you're gonna chain 5. You're going to skip the first chain from the hook and single crochet into the second chain. In the third chain, you're going to place 1/2 double crochet. Then place 1 double crochet into the fourth chain. In the fifth chain, we're going to place 1 triple crochet. So to triple crochet, yarn over twice, which is basically just wrapping the yarn around your hook 2 times. You should have 3 loops on your hook. From there, you'll insert your hook into the chain, yarn over again, pull that yarn through the chain to pull up another loop. You should now have 4 loops on your hook. Yarn over and pull that yarn through the first 2 loops on your hook. So now you have 3 loops on your hook. Yarn over again and pull the yarn through the next 2 loops on your hook. Now you just have 2. Yarn over one last time and pull that yarn through both of the loops on your hook. And you've just done your triple crochet. Now you're going to skip the next 2 stitches and single crochet into the third stitch. And this is our little start point. Once you've done your single crochet, you're going to chain 5 and repeat the previous pattern 4 more times until you have 5 star tips. Okay, so we officially finished our first star. I'm gonna go ahead and make 2 more because I want to have 3 for my beanie. So I have my 3 stars, and now it's time to attach them to the beanie. So first you're just going to want to figure out where you want to place the stars. So just lay your beanie out, find a perfect placement for them. You know, think about how high maybe you want the cuff to be and where the seam in the back is going to be, stuff like that. You can use stitch markers or pins to hold your stars in place. I like the way my stars look facing this way. I think that's the wrong side up, but we're gonna attach the stars now around the edges. If you want to, you can surface crochet them. That's what I'm gonna do, like a crochet slip stitch, but you can also use a big darning needle and just sew them to your beanie. So you could use a needle like this. I'm gonna use white yarn because I like the way it stands out more. To surface crochet slip stitch, you want to take your hook and put it through the stitch on the outside edge of your star points. So you're going right into the stitches on the edge on the side of your beanie. Once your hook is through that stitch, you're going to put your hook through the beanie so it comes through the other side. From there, take your yarn, I'm using white, and make a slip knot, and then you're going to put that over the top of your hook. So you're going to now pull your hook and the slip knot through the beanie and the stitch on the edge of your star. Now you're going to stick your hook into the next stitch on the edge of your star and the beanie so it comes through the other side. From there, you're going to yarn over. And you're going to pull the yarn through the other side of the beanie and through the stitch on the edge of the star point. You should have 2 loops on your hook. And now you're just going to do a slip stitch. So you're just going to pull that front loop through the loop in the back. And you're just going to continue doing that all around the edge of the star. So on this little divot part right here, I kind of like to go a little further in to make sure that I'm keeping the star shape. You just want to make sure that you're following the stitches on the edge. It's okay if it's not perfect, but just take your time and go around. So I'm just going to continue surface slip stitching around the edge of my star, and I will meet you back once we get to our final stitch on the edge. Also, just to mention, I did end up switching from stitch holders to pin to hold my stars down because I just found that they did a better job. Just a little tip. Okay, so we've made it all the way around and we are at our last stitch on the edge of the star. So to finish it off, you're gonna do your slip stitch. Now you're gonna insert your hook into that first slip stitch that you made, as well as the beanie. So you're inserting your hook through the stitch and then you're gonna insert it through the beanie so that it's going to the other side. From there, you're gonna yarn over and then pull that loop through the beanie and the loops on your hook. So you're gonna pull through the beanie, through the stitch. Might be a little bit difficult, so you might kind of have to wiggle it through there, but through the stitch and then through the loop on your hook. From there, you're just gonna pull up a loop. You can cut it. My string is short enough, so I'm just gonna pull it all the way through, but this is where you would cut it off. And then you just want to pull that extra string through so it's on the other side of your beanie. And now you're going to go ahead and just tie a knot with the yarn that you just cut off and the little tail from your slip knot in the beginning. So you're just going to tie that. I did a little dumb knot. Okay, so I'm just going to go ahead and continue attaching my stars. If you want to, you can go back and watch the previous clips so you can slip stitch along with me if you need to. If not, just meet me back once you're done attaching all your stars. Now that I've attached all of my stars, I'm just pulling all the loose strings to the other side so that they're on the inside of the beanie. Once you've done that, it's time to sew the sides up. To do that, you're going to take your beanie and fold it vertically so that the outside edges are together and lined up, and the side with the stars is facing inwards. Now you're going to take your hook and insert it into the first 2 stitches on both sides at the bottom of the beanie. Now you're going to take that long tail from the start of the beanie and yarn over, pull the yarn through both sides, and chain 1. Now you're going to turn your work and insert your hook into those same first 2 stitches on both sides. And then you're just going to do a single crochet. Now you're going to insert your hook into the next 2 stitches on both sides and make a single crochet. You're going to continue to do this until you have single crocheted your beanie together. So you're just sticking your hook into the next 2 stitches on both sides and doing a single crochet. You want to make sure that your stitches are lining up on both sides, so you should be single crocheting the 3rd stitch on one side to the 3rd stitch on the other side. The stitches on the side of the beanie closest to you can be a little tricky to see because they're not in that standard V shape, but it's just that one loop that's at the edge. So I'm just checking to make sure that, I'm keeping the right stitches together. The slip stitches at the top of the beanie can be a little bit tricky. So I'm just going to put a stitch marker through the last slip stitches on both sides to make sure I'm keeping my beanie together and I'm not skipping any stitches. Okay, so the sides of our beanie are now attached. You can see the seam here, which will be at the back of our beanie. Now we just need to close up the top. I'm going to pull my yarn through and use it to sew the top closed. So now you want to take a darning needle or a yarn needle, whatever you want to call it, and thread the yarn through it. If you don't have enough leftover yarn, you can cut a piece that's about double the length of the top. At the top of our beanie, which is the slip stitch side, you're going to insert your needle into the top of the row in front of the seam where you single crocheted the sides together. I'm putting it just a little bit below the top edge. Now pull that through and make a knot if you're not using the same yarn we used to single crochet the sides together. Now you're going to go ahead and skip about like one row and stick your needle into the next one right at the top from the inside. And you're just going to repeat this all the way around. And you're just going to repeat this all the way around until you get back to the back seam. Once you've made it back to your back seam, you're going to pull on your yarn to cinch the top closed. Now you'll just want to sew up the little opening left at the top here. So to do that, you're just going to kind of weave your darning needle through the top to sew it closed to make sure that the top is all closed up. I'm just taking my darning needle and sticking it through some stitches so that the end is tucked in when I cut the yarn off. Now I'm flipping my beanie inside out, and we're going to go ahead and weave in all our ends. And while I was doing that, I noticed that one of the points of my stars wasn't fully attached to my beanie. So I'm just taking some red yarn and sewing that down. And you did it! You officially crocheted your own star beanie.